Mary had a little lamb.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Big numbers coming out. A soaring jobs report. Now 33 consecutive months of job growth. The United States added 336,000 jobs last month. Unemployment rate holding at 3.8%. The report is far better than what economists were expecting, almost double what the expectation was out there.
It was a wow. It was a shocker. This was a lot stronger than most people were expecting. As you pointed out, twice what economists were expecting. Put another way, over the last year or so, Kate, the average monthly job gain was about 271,000. So we're talking about even stronger than what we have seen. And over the last week, I can tell you, Kate, that we have been getting different labor reports about whether the market was cooling, whether it was heating back up. This seems to indicate that it's continuing to increase, she said. So 336 for the month of September. But what's also really important to note is that both July and August were revised higher to the tune of about 119,000 jobs. So the labor market even stronger than what we had been expecting.
I mean, and for some reason, this will not inure to Joe Biden's prowess as a job creator. No, it won't. It won't inure to the Democrats. It will not benefit anybody's poll numbers if they have a D after their name. In fact, they are going to, on the other side of the aisle, convince you that this is bad, that this is bad news. You know what they'll do? They're going to point to Wall Street and they're going to say Wall Street is spooked because America is not failing. And apparently the the traders, the big ones, you could call them traders and spell it differently if you want to as well. But the traders actually bank on us doing poorly. Because it seems like whenever there's, an enormous amount of job creation, Wall Street goes belly up. They get freaked out. They actually have some sort of a bake sale or something. I don't know what they do. I just know what a bake sale is because that's, yesterday I asked you to send money. You sent money. Thank you very much. Do it again today, please. We need 2 days in a row. And that'll solve my problem for the whole month of October. Just saying, go to randyrhodes.com. But, it's an amazing phenom that they're going to actually say, well, Wall Street wants you to fail because they're afraid that if inflation isn't cooling off enough, that the cost of money will remain high for those who like to borrow money. And Wall Street just can't have it. So are we built to fail? I mean, this is my question, that I'm sitting there looking at it. And I hear the report. I'm like, yay, look at that, 336,000 jobs. And if they didn't fire Kevin McCarthy, it would have been 336,001 jobs, right? But no, all right, wait. He was fired, on Tuesday? So that would be October. So that'll be in November's jobs report. It won't okay. So it has nothing to do. Has nothing to do. But, I'm literally looking at these numbers and they're saying, yes, well, Wall Street is freaking out. I mean, there's a big sell-off going on Wall Street because they think that the Fed is not going to be satisfied with the strong growth. It's not good. And they may have to raise interest rates and Wall Street's reacting to that. And look, see, Wall Street is just and it just went down 200 points this morning and people were very upset, very unhappy. So I guess when we do well, they don't. I don't know. I don't think that that's the way, but this is the way they're selling it. And it's really creepy. And it's really bad. And it's really dangerous. Because you know what? We should all be rejoicing. And we should all be saying, my God, man, we were in the bowels of the annals of the dustbin of history. Let's put it that way. And we were able to get money out the door. We were able to keep our people, liquid. We were able to make sure that people who couldn't go to work were able to feed their families, were able to take care of their bills and not get evicted. We did everything the right way. And look, it's working. It's working. People are back in the workplace. We've had, 20 some odd months. I forget what the number is. It's an amazing amount of months in a row. Here, let me look it up. 20 straight months of below 4% unemployment. 20 straight months that our unemployment has been below 4%. People should be very happy. That's full employment in the United States of America. I mean, this is kind of the grievance that Republicans run on. We don't have full employment, and that's because the president's. And, the president doesn't actually create jobs. Okay, creates. He can actually incentivize sectors into private money investment by matching it with government, investment, can do that, which is what Biden did on the clean energy side. And then they started bitching him out. Well, we don't want clean energy. We want oil. We want gas. And I mean, we used to be energy independent. We are energy independent. You know what I mean? But the lying is so extreme and it's so prevalent and it's so routine that people actually repeat it. They actually say things like, we used to be energy independent. Do you remember Gavin Newsom sat down with Sean Hannity the other day? And Sean Hannity played that little game with him. And Sean Hannity said, we used to be energy. And Gavin Newsom said, Google this, everybody. Google this. I forget what it was. It's like Quattro or something. And, people looked it up and they went, oh, my God, we are energy independent. We are. We actually are. And we have been for a really stinking long time. So what are they talking about? Why are they lying? They're lying because they don't want progress in this country. Obviously, what we've been through in the last week, seriously, all kidding aside about firing Kevin McCarthy, okay? Obviously, what we see is a House of Representatives controlled by a bunch of lunatic fringe, a bunch of extremist, losers who are invested in the United States failing. They want, look, we have the clock is still ticking, right? All we did was a continuing resolution that said, all right, we'll pay, military, we'll pay the air traffic controllers, we'll pay park rangers, we'll pay them for another, 45 days, another 6 weeks. Well, we're now into that 45 days where we've got like 39 days left. And if you think that they're ready to select a new speaker, you're out of your freaking mind. I mean, listen, yesterday I was trying to, foist my idea upon you. and it is far-fetched, but it's a great idea. And, great ideas deserve to be aired out. And my great idea is that we make Hakeem Jeffries the Speaker of the House and do a unity government, build a coalition of all we need is 5 moderate Republicans. And I realize the word moderate Republican, or if it's a hyphenated word, it's an oxymoron. I get it. Or even pairing those two words together is sort of, troubling because it's hard to find one. But we do have some. We do have, what's his name, from Pennsylvania, Fitzpatrick. I mean, we do have some. So if you could convince them that, what the party that they say they belong to is invested in is the failure of the United States, and they do want to see us reach the 45-day mark and still not have funded the government, it would be right around Thanksgiving, and nothing would make them happier than ruining our Thanksgivings. Nothing would make them more pleased than seeing us, not be able to go over the river and through the woods to grandma's house. Do you know what I mean? This is like their wet dream of accomplishment, is to make us unhappy. Because here we have this great jobs report, and they're not going to report it as, something great. They're not. I just, listen, it's an amazing thing that this economy is so resilient, that people are so resilient, that workers in our country, you know who it is? It's a lot of women. A lot of women discovered, that working from home was a good deal because they could be home with the kids and they could still work. So a lot of people who are able to teleport, zoom it in, are doing it that way. And women are driving this economy. But I will say, hospitality and leisure is back in a big way. I guess because Minnesota is preparing for the arrival of Taylor Swift. And, those hotels better gear up for her entourage. No, 96,000 jobs were added in leisure and hospitality. And government jobs, 73,000.
all things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Former President Trump says he'd accept a short-term role as Speaker as the GOP looks for a unifier to lead the House.
Oh, my God.
Former President Trump may be running again for president. Some Republicans want to draft him to be Speaker of the House. Fox confirmed that Mr. Trump could try to attend a GOP candidate forum for Speaker at the Capitol Tuesday night.
I dare them to keep him out. I will nominate him in the conference, and President Trump can attend.
The Speaker of the House doesn't need to be a member.
We'll do whatever is best for the country and for the Republican Party.
But House rules suggest that lawmakers not serve in leadership positions if they face a felony indictment. Democrats relish the potential chaos.
Donald Trump is good about inserting himself in any news cycle. It isn't going to aid House Republicans.
The main candidates, House Majority Leader Steve Scalise.
Right, I've been listening to a lot of members and having a lot of really good conversations.
Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan.
You need someone who can unite the conference. I think I'm best equipped to do that.
Oklahoma Republican Kevin Hern is mulling a bid.
As soon as I plow through these calls, I was on the phone right before I came here, and I'm getting ready to jump off and keep calling people.
Some Republicans believe Scalise's cancer, which he called very treatable, is disqualifying, especially as the party routinely questions the fitness of President Biden.
I think it's something that all of us would like to see him put all of his energy and effort into beating cancer.
There's concern a new speaker doesn't fix the GOP's issues.
This will hurt swing districts. Hopefully we can turn this around.
We're told it could take the House weeks to elect a speaker if the body does not solve this fast.
So there's so much in that one little clip to talk about. There's just so much there. First of all, if I call Large Marge, is that body shaming? Is it? And if I say that she only has 3 toes and that she's a 3-toed Large Marge, is that body shaming? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if our friends out there, who are on the wall protecting, people who feel shamed about having 3 toes, calls me and says, you just made everybody who has 3 toes feel like really stinking bad. Okay, but anyway, the idea that Large Marge, 3-toed Large Marge, is actually trying to nominate Donald Trump, or was thinking about it yesterday, or keeps on saying that that's what she wants, and that there are others that are they so unfamiliar with the rules of the legislature, of the federal legislature? Listen, I'll offer up Bob Menendez, just so you know I'm being bipartisan about this factoid. But Bob Menendez was the chairman in the Senate of the Foreign Relations Committee. And guess what? He got indicted. That story is getting worse and worse every day, by the way. His current wife apparently needed a car. She needed a new car because she had slammed into a pedestrian and killed him. Yeah, back in Jersey. And so she needed a new car, and the guys that bribed her with the Mercedes-Benz were the ones that said, oh, she needs a new car. Don't you worry about that. We'll get you top of the line Mercedes-Benz. We'll get you a 60 grand, cash car is what we'll get you. So anyway, because Bob Menendez has been indicted, he had to surrender his chairmanship in the Senate. Well, Donald Trump is not only under indictment in 4 different jurisdictions, but he's facing 91 felony counts. He cannot be the Speaker of the House, and yet they keep nominating him to be the Speaker of the House. But, I'm sure that as soon as Donald Trump figured that being Speaker of the House does not include being able to pardon himself, he was out, because that's over. That ship has sailed, and last night, about a little bit after midnight, Donald Trump said he was endorsing Jim Jordan, which should tell you everything you need to know about Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan, a non-lawyer who is chairman of the Judiciary Committee, who is holding a faux kangaroo court impeachment of Joe Biden. That's his pick. That's his guy. And it should tell, and the other guy is Steve Scalise. Steve Scalise, David Duke without the baggage is what he says he is. He's like a Klansman without, the Klan behind him. I don't know. These are prolific fundraisers. So Steve Scalise has raised $83 million. He is the K Street go-to guy. You want something written into a bill, you call Steve Scalise. He's the majority whip. You call him and you tell him, this is what I want. And, I need this in the next tax bill, or I need this in the appropriations bill, or I need a line item in, the Homeland Security funding, or I need a line item in the Green New Deal. It doesn't matter what it is. They'll say they're against it, but, hey, we'll put stuff in there for you too, right? We'll put it in there. Steve Scalise is, the K Street go-to guy, right? And so people... That's kind of why they like him. That's how he became the whip, the majority whip. It's all about money. Now, Jordan, he's raised a measly $38 million. Think about it. These are jobs that pay $174,000 a year, but they can raise $50, $80, $84, $85 million. I mean, it's so disgusting. It's so ugly. It's so bad, okay? But anyway, this leads them down the road to say anything at all that they want to say. And so she's out there saying, I want Donald Trump. Donald Trump should be the next. Can you imagine him as speaker?
I think that if President Trump were to jump in as speaker for this last year of this horrific regime known as the Biden administration and had to call votes on bills, could you imagine what would get done? That's number one. Number two, it's free press for a year. He doesn't have to pay for advertising for his campaign. They'll cover him every day on the House floor. And number three, doesn't the speaker, Marjorie, usually have to communicate and negotiate things with the sitting president? Could you imagine that meeting on camera?
That's right. And that would be those are all the reasons that I absolutely love it. But I mostly love his policies, Dan. And so does the entire country.
What are his policies?
Is supporting President Trump. He's beating Joe Biden poll after poll for the general election. He's winning the primary so overwhelmingly. The primary should be over and every single candidate should drop out and apologize for running against him. But I'll go a step further, Dan. Most Republican members in the House that I work with have been endorsed by President Trump, and they won their campaigns because they begged for his endorsement. So I think President Trump is the right guy for the job. I certainly would love to see him be Speaker of the House. He's the man I support not only for Speaker of the House, but for President of the United States in 2024.
Okay, three toes. You only got one problem, and that is this. He's indicted, okay? He's indicted in 4 separate jurisdictions. He is facing 91 felony counts, and I have the order from the judge in the civil suit, okay, the civil suit, actually saying that he's got till October 26th to produce the certificates, so he has to, so he can't do business in New York because he's such a fraud. Honestly, here it is. This is it right here. Very nice and simple. People of the state of New York by Letitia James, Attorney General of the state of New York versus Donald J. Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, Alan Weisselberg, Jeffrey McConney, the Donald Trump Revocable Trust, the Trump Organization, on and on and on it goes. And the judge has ruled that they have till October 26th to produce the certificates. That's it. This is it. This is the end of the Trump Organization on paper, signed off by a judge. That's your problem, Marge.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. Overnight, former President Trump inserting himself squarely into the speaker's race, throwing his weight behind conservative Ohio Republican Jim Jordan. In a post on Truth Social, Mr. Trump writing Jordan, quote, will be a great Speaker of the House and has my complete and total endorsement. Jordan is a close Trump ally.
President Trump did more of what he said he would do than any president in my lifetime.
What are you talking about?
And Mr. Trump had already been a looming presence in the speaker race, itself a sign of the Republican Party moving further to the right and becoming more pro-Trump. Trump saying just yesterday to Fox News Digital that he would accept a short-term role as Speaker himself if the GOP couldn't decide.
A lot of people have been calling me about Speaker. All I can say is we'll do whatever's best for the country and for the Republican Party.
It comes after former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy was ousted for the first time in history by 8 rebel Republicans, led by Florida's Matt Gaetz.
If it's Speaker Jim Jordan or Speaker Steve Scalise, there will be very few conservatives in the country who don't see that as a monumental upgrade.
Both candidates for the speakership are strong Trump supporters, but Jordan is a conservative firebrand, leading the impeachment inquiry into President Biden, famous for his combative style and a staunch Trump defender during both of Mr. Trump's impeachments. The Republican Party now thrown into chaos, deeply divided as moderates, with their eye on the 2024 election, still distressed by McCarthy's exit.
We have an obligation to get back to work on behalf of the American people, to stop the inter-party squabble, and to focus on the issues that actually matter to people.
Whoever the next speaker is will have a lot on their plate, including avoiding yet another looming government shutdown, now just weeks away.
Seriously, dude. I mean, this is so bad, and it's so obvious what they're doing. They literally, took away their ability to introduce any further legislation with the hopes that the United States of America would not be able to, pay its bills, would not be able to do I mean, they didn't work all summer. The idea that Matt Gaetz is like pissed because he wants to do single-issue bills. He wants to do like each of the 12 appropriations bills separately and not have to vote for an omnibus package. Yeah, well then, why in the hell are you off work now? And why in the hell were you off work all summer long? You know, everybody's very busy going on their vacations, going to Italy, going over here, going over there, doing this, doing that. And then they come back, and people like me are sitting there going, they just went home, and they're not coming back till after Labor Day, and that'll give them, a week and a half to pass 12 appropriations bills, and they will never have time to do it. And so we're looking at another continuing resolution scenario. This time, they double down on the continuing resolution scenario. And first of all, the only reason why we have a continuing resolution at all is because the Democrats crossed the aisle and gave their votes to Kevin McCarthy. This is the exact vote that made Matt Gaetz depose Kevin McCarthy. You're not allowed to work with across the aisle. You're not allowed to work with a Democrat. That we're unclean, we're unwashed, we got the cooties. Remember, I mean, this is why I say things this way. So you'll remember that I said them that this was easily knowable and callable, and that people that are paying attention are calling it for you, so you can see how disingenuous this whole thing is. It isn't about not liking. Maybe for Matt Gaetz it was personal because he hates Kevin McCarthy. It's between the brothers, though. It's between the brothers, Kay. This was not for us to get involved in, okay? It wasn't, but we had to because they fired him and left them with nobody to introduce any legislation, including, the omnibus package or including anything to do with another continuing resolution, which will put us right up to Christmas time. I mean, it's so ridiculous how they can't govern and won't govern and never could and never will. It's who they are. It's what they do. The only president that ever balanced the budget, like him, don't like, was Bill Clinton. Period. End of story. That has not happened since 1996. I mean, honestly, don't fool yourselves here. Donald Trump was not the best president we ever had. Donald Trump had no policy. Donald Trump was for whatever Donald Trump thought that, the wind was blowing in that direction that day. Donald Trump would have started World War III with Kim Jong-un if he had to. Donald Trump actually picked a fight with Kim Jong-un so he could solve the fight. He literally was tweeting fire and fury and all this crap and scaring the bejesus out of so many of us on purpose, so that he could then say, I solved it. We fell in love. I mean, what the hell is wrong with him? And the only thing he ever passed was an unpaid for, add $2 trillion to the deficit tax cut for the wealthy. Period. That's it. He never built his wall. Mexico never paid for it. We had so much, disgusting stuff going on at the border. You had children that were separated from their parents. Didn't stop immigration because that's not the solution. Okay? I mean, Biden here has called, just so you know, Biden called Maduro down there in Venezuela. This is where the influx is coming from, Venezuela. Venezuela has been just turned upside down by this ridiculous communist psycho Maduro, okay? And people are fleeing. You know how many people left Venezuela? Do you have any idea? Yes, 7 million. That's right, Brett. Good for you. 7 million Venezuelans have left Venezuela. Now, most of them have gone to neighboring, places like Panama, Colombia. Some people actually migrated through Panama, and they made it into, Guatemala, Honduras, and then up into Mexico. But for the most part, they are fleeing, okay? That's what you need to know. So Biden got on the phone, and you know what he told Maduro? He said, you need to take these people back. If they are here illegally and they cannot establish a claim for asylum, because there's nothing illegal about coming here and asking for asylum. That's just not illegal under our Constitution. Just isn't. That's why we're a nation of immigrants, because people have done it. But anyway, he said the ones that cannot prove that they have a valid asylum claim, I'm putting them on a plane. I'm sending them back. You're going to take them back. And he agreed to do that. And they also had a meeting, Tony Blinken, Secretary of State, Mayorkas, HHS Secretary. They were all down in Mexico yesterday, okay? And they were trying so hard to figure out, how in the world are we going to do, the right thing by these people fleeing Venezuela? Mexico, will you take care of some of them? We gave, 400,000+. We gave them working papers so that they don't starve and they don't become, the problem of the state. And by the state, I mean Chicago, Illinois, New York, Colorado's now about to see. And, these psychotic, cruel people who think that if you're cruel and just keep on doubling down on cruel and you have like the yoga balls of death, floating around in the Rio Grande, that somehow that will stop it. I mean, cruelty is not going to stop people from trying to come here. Comprehensive immigration reform will actually solve it. Dealing with Venezuela or whatever country where the people are coming from, that will go a long way.
It's the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
So what happened to our caller who wanted to yell at me that I was wrong about Steve Scalise being David Duke without the baggage?
I think it was Tim from Arkansas, and I got to say, he was calm. I feel like it was going to be a good conversation. Tim, don't run away. Come back to the show. Discuss.
You scurried away like the little scared squirrel that you are. Come back, everybody. He probably won't, but I just have to tell you, I didn't call Steve Scalise David Duke without the baggage. Steve Scalise called Steve Scalise David Duke without the baggage. Steve Scalise went to a neo-Nazi rally that was given by a group that was founded by David Duke. And then he said, I'm David Duke, but without the baggage. So don't tell me I'm wrong. Like I made up that nickname for him. He made up that nickname for him.
If he's got Google, we won't be hearing from him again.
Right, exactly. Go away. First we tell him come over here, then we go away. Yeah, because I feel bad. I feel really.
He actually said that you were wrong about every single thing that you said, and this is the most immature show he's ever seen. Uh-huh. So, Tim or Ken or from Arkansas, whatever your name was, please pick another one and call back.
Yeah, let me know where I'm wrong. Let me know where my facts are flawed. Please let me know. I'd be so interested. Jack in Florida.
How you doing, Randy?
Hi.
I dislike Matt Gaetz slightly more than I dislike my congressional representative, and I despise Greg Steube.
Oh, that's right. All the really good ones come from here, don't they?
Yeah, we get some treasures. But Gaetz was right about something the other day, and all the other Republicans in the well booed him when he was talking about how he gets his funding versus them all groveling to all the lobbyists. And you could just sense this palpable, he said, what? And then they all booed out loud while he was making his remarks. And he's like, yeah, go ahead. I'd rather get my money $5, $10, $20 at a time from an average American than to beg from these big donors.
Yeah, but listen, the whole idea that you need money to run for office is really sickening, and I'll show you why.
Oh, it is. Yeah,
right,
you have to raise $5 million for a job that doesn't pay $200,000. I guess they get great health care, but and the other thing is with the single issue voting, like if they just did that with the transportation bill alone, even the most productive Congress in history wouldn't even be able to get through the transportation bill.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because there's 1,000 line items.
Oh yeah, I mean it's.
So you're talking, yeah.
It's earmarks and pork barrel projects, and I mean obviously, and this is one place.
Do you know where pork barrel comes from?
No.
Okay, so back in the genteel South, when things were getting a little slow, they used to roll a barrel of pork out for the slaves, and then sit back and watch as the slaves fought over it for the best cut.
That's disgusting.
And you look it up. That's literally where pork barrel politics comes from.
Well,
a wag from the New York Times picked up on it.
So what I was saying to you is that the idea that these bills are nothing but vehicles for earmarks, and that idiot boy that you're saying said the truth about lobbyists, he put an earmark, like a multiple $1 million earmark into one of these appropriation bills. Matt Gaetz did. I mean, they're all doing it. They're all doing it. And if every time we try and get rid of earmarks, we get rid of the incentive for them to show up to even discuss how to spend the money, because they don't care. They care about They care about.
There's
what's
no governing principle. There's no goal. There's no.
Right.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. It's just once in a while, even a blind squirrel is going to find a nut, and I think in this case, even a dumb man came up with something intelligent.
So what I was going to say was that Tim Burchett, who's another one that voted to get rid of Kevin McCarthy, he's another real extremist, radical, right-wing freak from Tennessee. He
just to the right of Genghis Khan, I believe.
Oh, he's so right wing that he's the person that we used to play when we were having the debt ceiling fight, and he was like, "Shut it down. Just shut it down. It ain't worth it. Just, burn it down to the ground. The government." Well, the other day he said something that was very true too. He said, that people, when they get the bill, they don't read the thousands of pages that are in it, because the reason why it's thousands of pages is because of all the earmarks, all the pork barrel, all of the, he said, but what everybody.
That's the reason you have 5 legislative aides, because nobody can read all of this.
But what he said was that when you get the bill, what you do is you go down the bill and you look to see, did I grease the lobbyist that gave me some fundraisers last month? Did I make sure that their project was in this bill? And what did I get from my district? He said after that, nobody reads it. Now that's true too, but they're not good guys.
No. I'm not suggesting for a moment he's a good man or anything.
I didn't think
it's
you
just,
were.
Once in a while, they do say something that's, even accidentally true.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
And I found it very fascinating to watch people on television booing, a public campaign.
Well,
it was really striking.
That's because Matt Gaetz has to fundraise the old-fashioned way. So he actually says these things out loud, so that people will then dial him for dollars and give him the money.
I have a good friend that suggests that the congressmen should all have to show up like a NASCAR racer, like with ExxonMobil on the, like a logo for each one of their sponsors.
Jack?
On the suit.
That was me.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he got it from you, I guess.
Yeah, he did. So, Jack, you wouldn't let me complete one stinking thought. It was like all over the place. But I'm just saying to you, okay, that it is broken. This is the ultimate form of gaslighting. This is what are you doing? This is world heavyweight champion gaslighting that's going on here, okay? They are literally blaming the other party for what they're doing. And sometimes they actually stumble into, Kevin McCarthy's doing it because they're now at civil war with each other. This is an intra-party fight. This is an internecine fight. This is the Republicans beating the Republicans. This is them at war with each other to see who gets the spoils. And the spoils that they want is they want all the pork. They want an autocrat. They want a guy to come in and run it like a mafia state and say, Matt, you get all the transportation projects. Jim, you get all the banking projects. Marge, we're going to give you all the construction projects, right? And it's not just they'll get all the companies that they're going to grease to come to Congress, sit in a room with them and say, how much is it worth to you? Okay, I want a direct payment, right? And then they kick back to Donald Trump a portion of what they made. They want to turn this into like a mafioso business. And so when they tell you that corporations are people, they mean them. Okay, in their wild dream at the end, they're going to be the corporate. Okay, and they're people. And when they say that they want a strong man, or when they say, Donald Trump alone can fix it, what they're saying is we need to cut out all the people that get fed at this trough and just streamline it down to Trump will hand out all the projects. He will hand out all the things that need to be done. We'll get it done, but we'll get paid. Direct payments. That's the end of democracy. And that's why I keep saying, in chaos they can steal. This is why they created the chaos of not being able to now even pass another continuing resolution. We can't do anything without a speaker. Nothing can get done in the House of Representatives. Now, I suspect that Democrats have already, and I'm just guessing at this, but if I were there, this is what I would have done. I would have introduced a discharge petition already and filed it, and I'll let it sit in the committee, because it's got to sit for 30 legislative days, not days of the calendar, but days that they're at work. They're not at work now, right? And that's why, what's his name, McHenry, whatever his name is, who's now the Speaker of the House interim and name only, can't do anything. It can only do administrative stuff. So the small person that he is, the administrative stuff he did, was take away Nancy Pelosi's hideaway office off the floor. He also did it to Steny Hoyer. Yeah, the minority whip. He also took away Steny Hoyer's ability to leave the floor and go to an office near the floor, right? So now they still have to go back to their Cannon office building, or whatever office building, Dirksen, whatever building they're in. I mean, it's so petty and it's so small, but that's what he used his little bit of power for, because he can't introduce any pieces of legislation. He can't introduce jack crap, and they're thrilled with it. Now, listen to this. Fox News says on Monday they're going to host a debate between Scalise and Jordan, and maybe this guy Hearn, who hasn't decided if he's in or out, so another multimillionaire from Oklahoma, and they're going to have a debate on Fox News for the speakership. I mean, what kind of squirrely thing is this? I mean, the idea that they're going to fundraise off it, they are so disgusting. They're not capable of governing. Okay? They're not. All they're capable of doing is running a candy store. That's it. And Steve Scalise, he's the candy guy. He's the candy man.
Mary had a little man.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America. From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
The main contenders for his position are Jim Jordan, who you know very well from Benghazi.
Oh, I don't know him well. I watched him and stared at him for 11 hours while he made stuff up about me. So I don't know him, but I've seen him in action.
So what will it mean if he gets the speakership?
Well, I mean, he is one of the principal ringleaders of the circus that's been created in the Republican Party for the last several years. I have no inside knowledge about what the Republicans will do, who they will end up voting for. But when do they put the country first?
There you go.
They do not represent a majority of even the Republican Party. When you look at the extremists in the House, they certainly don't represent a majority of the country. And, somebody has to stand up and say enough. We could have disagreements. I'm all for that. I was in the Senate for 8 years. I worked with a lot of Republicans and, opposed them when I didn't agree. But at some point, there needs to be a backlash against the control that this small group of extremists have. And I don't know who will lead that, but let's hope whoever becomes the new speaker will.
So that's why we need, I know it's far-fetched, but that's why we need 5 moderate Republicans. And if you think that's an oxymoron, you're not alone. But 5 moderate Republicans. Brian Fitzpatrick, I don't know why I keep settling on him. He's from Pennsylvania. He seems to be a moderate. Lawler seems to be a moderate, unless you stick the microphone in his face like more than once a day. Then you find out that he's, a back crap too. But people who are in districts where Joe Biden clearly won by double digits. That's why Lawler is from New York. He's from a district that voted for Joe Biden by 10 percentage points, right? Brian Fitzpatrick, he is a moderate from from the state of Pennsylvania. Very moderate guy. So there's 2, right? If you could start identifying, and we only need to get to 5, then you could actually have them cross the aisle and say, that is what governing looks like. Because Lawler has said, this is why I had high hopes for him. Mike Lawler from New York, who won on a gerrymandered map, he must know that, actually said that, it was not a bad thing to cross the aisle, and that all legislation, all meaningful legislation had to be and always was and always will be bipartisan. And that's why I thought, gee, he gets it. You can't have, a perfect bill, but you have to have something for everybody in order to get them to vote for it. That's why these bills are 10,000 pages long. Now, if you left out the lobbyists' hopes and dreams, you could probably shave off about, 9,000 pages and just go back to good old-fashioned pork where you're bringing money home for your district. That would be a good thing, because that would incentivize people to work together. That would incentivize people to, advocate for a project that would benefit their constituents, right? But instead of a project that benefits, an industry that's represented by lobbyists, like the banking industry or hedge fund managers or the National Petroleum Institute. You know what I'm saying? This is why you see, 80, 90% of America agree on something, and yet it can't get done. Because the corporate, masters, and what do we have, like 1,000 billionaires in this country? They're controlling everything because they have the pot of cash. They have the money, and that's what, people are answering to. Where's the money? Where's the money? Where's the money? Where's the money? I need money. Got to have money. We all need money. But they sell their souls, they sell their integrity, and now they're down to selling out the whole country because, yes, it's true. They're tired of the system. But the system they have in mind has nothing to do with the one I just mentioned, where you're just bringing home projects for the benefit of your district. No. They want the 1,000 billionaires to pay them directly and get rid of the lobbyists that way. But then you also get rid of democracy that way. So their way of beating back the lobbyist class isn't about making it illegal to bribe. No, it's about cutting out the people who put up the fight. The people are hard to manage, right? So anyway. But I had high hopes for Lawler, and I had high hopes for Brian Fitzpatrick and a few others that you could identify in there that are moderate Republicans who might cross the aisle and say, it's time to have a sane speaker, just somebody who will pay the damn bills in time for the government to pay the military, in time for the government to pay the air traffic controls, in time for the government to pay the park rangers, in time for us not to lose billions of dollars in productivity and our credit rating, which makes the debt that we carry even more expensive to carry when you lose your credit rating, because it applies to the government too, credit rating. Anyway, that's my idea. Today I saw Hakeem Jeffries wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post, and I was like, oh, wow. Maybe he's going to advocate for, putting his name out there. No, he's actually advocating for a moderate Republican to do that. He's saying that the radical, Jim Jordan, the flamethrowers, the bomb throwers, the Matt Getzes, the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the, Steve Scalise, who is a wholly owned subsidiary of K Street, which is the lobby street in D.C., right? Hakeem Jeffries is saying, why don't you go identify a nice moderate Republican, and the Democrats would be able to vote for that person, because you're never, ever going to get to 218 pulling from the same radical pool, right? Which is just the a Republican Party. You're never, I mean, if you have, that's what I was saying yesterday, if you have Steve Scalise over here and you have Jim Jordan over there, you're pulling from the same pool of radicals, okay? One is going to say, but I enjoy the money so much that I'm giving my vote to Steve Scalise, who is, a radical white supremacist. And then the other side is going to say, well, I'm going to do with a little less money, but Jim Jordan's still good for raising $38 million. He'll still kick back to me, and maybe I can make a deal with him that he will never primary me, that he will never spend any money from the Republican Party in my district. See, this is all they care about. And this is where the deal making is going on. This is what everybody's on the phone discussing. They're not talking about the best thing for Americans. They're not talking about the best thing for their district. They're not talking about the best thing for democracy. They're not talking about the best thing for sanity. They're talking about the best thing for their ideology, which is no government. How do we get there from here? And they're all going to pull from that same pool. And that's why they're going to need a Democrat or 2 or 5 to vote with them. And Jim Jordan isn't the person that could get that to happen, because Jim Jordan is a lying sack of crap who Hillary Clinton remembers having to sit there and answer ridiculous questions about made-up topics that he made up in order to, fundraise off of her 11 hours on TV. Right? So Jim Jordan does it that way. Steve Scalise actually goes, and has meetings on K Street. So they're going to pull from that same group, and no one's going to get to 218. So wouldn't it just make sense? See, I like my idea because I trust Hakeem Jeffries to do the right thing when no one's looking. And that is my be-all, end-all of, do you have character? Do you have integrity? But if we could identify a moderate Republican and say to that moderate Republican, you'll get Democratic support, and you shouldn't be ashamed of that, because that's what all decent legislation takes. Every single piece of legislation that has held up over time because it was a bipartisan piece of legislation. And then Democrats would cross the aisle and vote for a moderate Republican. This is really the answer to our problems. Either Hakeem Jeffries, my pick, or a moderate Republican, Hakeem Jeffries' pick, because he knows no Republican will ever vote for him. See what I'm saying?
RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
Okay, so you heard Hillary, why Hillary thinks, Donald Trump would endorse a Jim Jordan. Now here's Liz Cheney telling you why she thinks, Donald Trump would endorse a Jim Jordan.
Jim Jordan knew more about what Donald Trump had planned for January 6th than any other member of the House of Representatives. There was a handful of people, of which he was the leader, who knew what Donald Trump had planned. Now, somebody needs to ask Jim Jordan, why didn't you report to the Capitol Police what you knew Donald Trump had planned? You were in those meetings at the White House.
Yeah, Marge too, right? Marge was, leaving the White House and on camera and saying, I just had this meeting at the White House and, it's all about January 6th. And I mean, caught on freaking camera. The gaslighting that goes on. And of course, this is Donald Trump's pick. Why? Because Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about us. He doesn't give a damn about this country. He doesn't look at America as the single longest democracy in the history of the world. He doesn't look at America as a country that has, rescued more people from death, from imminent death or danger, and caused, the greatest influx of people needing to flee, and built a country of immigrants out of that. He doesn't look at, he looks at our soldiers as losers and suckers. He has no comprehension of what America is, or why America is, or how America came to be, or what it is that we hope to do for ourselves in the present and in the future. You know, I mean, they just keep on shoveling out these grievances, shoveling out the disappointment, because nothing is going to be perfect ever. You know what they say about democracy? They say it's the worst governing system ever, except for all the others. And so they know that, and they constantly are feeding you what's wrong with democracy, what doesn't work in a democracy, what is unfair in a democracy, what immigration looks like, and it doesn't look like your people anymore, it's different people. And then, 20, 30 years from now, it'll be different people. And maybe they'll play that game all over again because, sociologically speaking, people need to look down on someone to feel a little bit better about themselves. That's just a human trait. There's nothing you're ever going to do. But when they exploit it for their own benefit, when they actually fundraise off of it, when they actually say so-and-so will not replace us. And we have a game in our house, like whenever they show the Charlottesville crap and you got these, guys who now are in jail, the Tiki Torch guys who killed Heather Heyer, the ones that Donald Trump said they were fine people on both sides. Whenever they start screaming, Jews will not replace us, me and Howard go, yes, we will. Just because we're still free. You know what I mean? But they exploit everything that goes wrong in a democracy, and plenty does. It always will. It always will, because it's a conglomeration of a lot of ideas and a lot of free speech and a lot of full-throated yelling and screaming. And you could be as racist as you want to be in this country, free speech being what it is. What you can't do is cross the line over telling people to act on that racism and to do violence. That's where the line is. And a lot of people just go, where is the line? Why is it so hard for you to understand? No is no. And the line between racism and violence is saying you got to take out this attorney general. Do you know what I mean? That she's a racist, which is the ultimate gaslighting thing, but that she is racist, Letitia James, which is what Donald Trump has been saying, and you have to take her out. That's the line. He crossed it. And all of this violent rhetoric was supported by the crazy crackers, okay, the anti-freedom crackers. And Jim Jordan is the head of the Freedom Crackers. He is. He is the guy that actually invented the Freedom Caucus, which is made up of the most extreme white supremacist, ideologically skewed people. And, you got to make room for them to live in our country. You don't have to give them all kinds of power over you. And Donald Trump wants to do that because Donald Trump thinks that in the end, the only thing that's going to save him, just like January 6th, the only thing left for him to do, because like I said, I held up, Judge Engoron's order. Donald Trump has to turn over all his business certificates. Donald Trump is not allowed to be the head of any business or do business in New York State, period, okay? He actually ruled on that a couple of weeks ago. Both sides asked for what's called a summary judgment. Both sides, the defense, Donald Trump's side, and the prosecution, Letitia James' side. They both asked for a summary judgment, meaning there were no more facts in dispute. They both agreed that the facts are what they are. Now you decide. And the judge decided for the prosecution. That's what happened. Donald Trump didn't get a jury after that for the damages portion because Donald Trump never asked for a jury for the damages portion. But his lawyers asked for a summary judgment, meaning no jury. So the whole time they're requesting no jury because they know that the facts are not good for them. It looks really awful what they've done, which was to defraud insurance companies, banks, and taxpayers. So every time they go, who got hurt here? The first thing you need to worry about is yourself, right? You got hurt here because $250 million has to be disgorged from him, meaning taken from him because he lied to get $250 million off his taxes. It's not that complex. It really isn't. But those indictments and this kind of fraud, adjudication, this is why he cannot be the president. This is also why he can't be the Speaker of the House. And this is why he took his name out of the running. He took his name out of the running because the other people in the GOP went crazy when they said, oh, my God, you can't have him be the Speaker of the House. He's under indictment. Not just indictment. In 4 different jurisdictions, he's under indictment. There are 91 felony charges against him, and he just got declared. He just got ruled of a complete and utter business fraud in the state of New York, which is where he claimed he made his fortune. Holy crap! So, obviously, there are problems with democracy because it has happened. It has happened that a con man became the president of the United States. It has happened that a con man became the Speaker of the House. It has happened that racists actually toil among us in Congress. Nothing really new about that. But these are all the things that can and do go wrong in a democracy. The Republicans' MO is to feed you these disappointments, first of all, they advocated for Citizens United, right, to put all this money into politics. They got the ruling, and now they're sitting there going, you know what the problem is? Money in politics. It's like when they spend money, deficits don't matter. And then when we're spending money, they're like, they're driving up the deficit, even though we always pay for everything we do. They never do. It's so bizarre that it has any play at all with sane people. Us. That's what blows my mind.
Call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. You saw the number of Republicans who voted along with Democrats to keep the government open. So there's clearly a common sense, sane part of the Republican caucus in the House. But I think they are intimidated. They oftentimes, say and do things which they know better than to say or do. And it will require us defeating those most extreme measures and the people who promote them in order to try to get to some common ground where people can, again, work together. That's the way it used to be. I mean, we had very strong partisans in both parties in the past, and we had very bitter battles over all kinds of things, gun control and climate change and the economy and taxes, but a formal deprogramming of the cult members. But something needs to happen.
And how do you do that? Because you said you have to defeat them by defeating their leader. Their leader is Donald Trump. Even you have said that you expect him to be the Republican nominee. How does this change at all?
At this point, I think, sadly, he will still likely be the nominee, and we have to defeat him. And we have to defeat those who are the election deniers, as we did in 2020 and 2022. And we have to, just be smarter about how we are trying to empower the right people inside the Republican Party.
I'm sorry, she said the right people inside the Republic. She should have said the sane people, but you know what she meant. We all know what she means. We all see what she sees, and she is absolutely 100% correct about Donald Trump and was from the very beginning. She was right about him. She was right that he was a tax fraud, a tax cheat. He said that made him very smart. No, that made him very corrupt. But you see, that's the whole grievance crowd, right? Yeah, it makes him smart. He didn't have to pay his taxes. I don't want to pay my taxes. See, this is what I'm saying. There's always going to be grievance in a democracy because democracy sucks unless you're governed by anything other than democracy. And so inherent in governing are problems. You need people that won't exploit those problems, but will look to solve them. And if we have to go incrementally, then by God, that's what we'll do. But if we can do things in broad strokes, like overturn, Jim Crow, then we'll do that. So I just want you to understand that there's always going to be something that you could get angry about. There's always going to be something in a democracy and a democratic system of governing that's going to piss you off. Always. Always. but it's better than any other system that we've ever seen used to organize a society. Period. Brother David.
Bingo, sister, word to infinity, what you just said and then some.
Mm-hmm.
It is a tragic, frazzled, felonious, fractured, fraudulent, fascist, fastly falling price.
How was your birthday?
It was good.
What kind of a sound was that?
It was good. It was good.
Good.
And now I can look forward to my 26th consecutive blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But, I've been studying Neville Goddard's law of assumption, and one of the things it deals with in how your imagination makes your own reality is when one focuses on the problem that one is dealing with, and that's where the energy goes.
Right.
Guess what you get more of? That problem.
That's right.
When you focus on the desired solution or look to the potential that they're the positives of the situation, that's when you get that.
But when you can't see the positives or when you can't see the solution, that's when you talk to others who, through diversity of talking about it, putting it out there, you might just actually be able to solve the problem instead of just repeating it over and over and perpetuating it.
Because all you do is feed it. That's right. You perpetuate it.
Right.
I love and it turns out Hakeem Jeffries' idea, now finding the moderate House member on that side of the aisle. That's another thing. But this simply can't go on.
It simply cannot. And when you look at the way Democrats govern versus the way Republicans govern, it is preferable to have Democrats govern only because they don't focus on the perpetual problem. They focus on the solution to whatever it is that is in front of them that needs to be solved, okay? And so when you look at, Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House with a 5-seat margin, and you look at Kevin McCarthy, same, you see completely different results. Hence, under a president like Biden with a Democratic majority, even if it's just a smidge,
a thread,
right? A tiny little smidge of the proverbial hair. Okay,
right.
You still got the Science and Chips Act. You still got, the Infrastructure Act. You still got the COVID, rescue package. You still got, all of these amazing pieces of legislation.
The things that function are functioning.
But they're big. These were big ideas. These were things that repaired roads and bridges and tunnels. These were things that built factories.
Not since FDR.
And restored manufacturing. These are things that, are creating a civilian conservation volunteer. I mean, these are job training programs. These are so good. They're
solutions.
Yeah.
With more solutions embedded in them potentially.
Yeah.
So there that is. There are still more of us, but
there are. But I just hope that everybody understands that the tyranny of the minority is a real thing.
It's a very real thing, and it's what's been running, and it's up to us to make sure that it stops running.
Truly, because when you actually dissect it and you say, well, what is all this money for? Why do they want all this money? Used to be that they wanted all this money because they wanted to put it on TV, they wanted to run ads, or they wanted to buy social media now. They wanted to, No, now they're actually putting it in their pockets, okay?
In their pockets.
So it's pretty disgusting. But it's all to win elections, right? That's what the money is for. It's so that they can feel that they can win an election in their district. Well, if the people can't be bought, if the people can't be convinced that Jim Jordan is a good thing for America, or that, Tim Burchett is a good thing for America, or whoever it is Donald Trump is a good thing. If they can't be convinced, it doesn't matter how much money they have. It really doesn't. Because if the people show up, look what happened with Biden. Okay? Biden won by 7 million votes. It wasn't even close.
is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
When you see another matchup between potentially Trump and President Biden, what goes through your mind? And particularly, how do you process that this person who defeated you back in 2016 is still at it, given all that you've said? 91 indictments, you know, civil fraud, sexual transgressions according to the courts. How is this still happening?
It's the classic tale of an authoritarian populist who really has a grip on the emotional, psychological needs and desires of a portion of the population. And the base of the Republican Party, for whatever combination of reasons, and it is emotional and psychological, sees in him someone who speaks for them. And they are determined that they will continue to vote for him, attend his rallies, wear his merchandise, because for whatever reason, he and his, very negative, nasty form of politics resonates with them. Mm-hmm. Maybe they don't like migrants.
Right.
Maybe they don't like gay people or black people or the woman who got the promotion at work they didn't get. Whatever the reason, Make America Great Again was a bid for nostalgia, to return to a place where, people could be in charge of their lives, feel empowered, say what they want, insult whoever came in their way. And that was really attractive to a significant portion of the Republican base. So it is like a cult. And somebody has to break the, break that momentum. And that's why I believe Joe Biden will defeat him. And hopefully then that will be the end and the fever will break. And then Republicans can try to get back to, fighting about issues among themselves and electing people who are at least, responsible and accountable.
She's right. It's the grievance crowd. It's the people who don't like fill in the blank. Whatever it is that you don't like or whatever it is that they don't like, they feel like Donald Trump doesn't like that same thing. And so he's their guy because he's articulating their rage. And their rage could be at, immigrants, and their rage could be at women. Their rage could be at, Northerners. The rage could be at, their company. Their rage could be at their wife. Their rage could be at their, whatever it is. And they have sort of camaraderie with each other because he's so nasty and gives them license to be nasty. And there's a certain collegiality. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but there's a certain comfort in the group that they associate with. And there's discomfort associated with speaking to that group about, I've had enough. That is anxiety inducing for somebody who knows the truth, knows the facts, knows that this man is a fraud, for instance, knows that he's a rapist, for instance, knows that he is not a successful businessman, a man who inherited a large chunk of money from his father, which he characterized as $1 million. Was multiple tens of millions of dollars, okay? He just wanted you to think that he was, had more business prowess than he really does, that he's smarter than he really is. Hence the Wharton story over and over again, okay? The man is a fraud, and anyone can be as rich as he is if they cheat. That's just a fact, okay? People can all get very, very wealthy if they're allowed to sell things that don't exist, if they're allowed to defraud other people. There's no magic in that, okay? But it's illegal. And we made it illegal so that meritocracy might have some sort of a chance in our society. Like I said, it's a flawed system that we self-govern, under, but it's the worst system except for all the others. And he has manufactured this hatred for it by exploiting the bad parts of it and never, ever, ever advertising the good parts of it. Never. Because the good parts of it mean we hold frauds accountable. The good parts of it mean if you rape a woman in a dressing room in Bergdorf's in New York 20 some odd years ago, you will still be held accountable. If that woman is fierce enough and smart enough and well situated enough to afford to make you face the bar of justice, you will. So I get why. I mean, people feel very comfortable with and very uncomfortable knowing the truth. This is why I keep on saying there's cognitive dissonance, where people are starting to have two things that are very real in their heads at the same time. One is the real illusion of Donald Trump, and the other is the real world in which we live and work and toil and save and try to buy homes and raise our kids. Like the lie that, for instance, this is one of my favorite lies, that parents that went to school board meetings to scream and yell about books or something like that, that they were jailed. They were not jailed. I don't even know why people, are able to be sold that as a real thing. I don't, but whatever. Keno in Florida.
Yes. Hello, Randy.
Hi.
Got some good news. There's a grassroots movement to put John Kasich, the former Republican governor of Ohio, and he served in Congress several years and got a balanced budget. And a friend of mine heard on a call-in radio show in Orlando asking for people to call Congress and suggest that John Kasich, he's a moderate Republican that you were calling for early in the program.
Yeah, he is.
And I have called 20 offices of Congress people yesterday and today, and I ask your viewers to also, if they agree with this, and if you agree with this, maybe promote this idea that John Kasich is one alternative. Can I give the Congress the switchboard for Congress?
Yeah.
Okay, it's 202-224-3121. Let me repeat again. 202-224-3121. And people can call in and ask their Congress people to. This is a moderate who would include provision for the Democrats, I'm sure, because when he was governor, he worked with the Democrats in Ohio. So I ask your support, Randy, and I ask viewer support that we, on this grassroots movement, to call in and talk to Congress and promote the idea that he be considered because he would work with Democrats, and he's a moderate, and I think he's a decent man. So what do you think? Can you promote this idea?
Sure. Anything would be better than Jim Jordan. I mean, just anything at all. The crust under my shoe is better. You know what I mean? You're better.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
I mean, there's no, except the only thing I want to tell you is if you're going to call your congressman, call the home office, the district office, because ain't nobody in Washington Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock when they've been told to go home 2 days ago.
Yeah. Well,
right.
I called yesterday and today, and like I say, I got about 20 that I got the word to. Now, there's a Bruce Westerman, a congressman, Republican in Arkansas, and he seems a little interested in this.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, listen, anything is better than these two, okay? Anything is better. Scalise is obviously a first of all, he's ill. He has blood cancer, and he's undergoing very aggressive chemo. And this is really an amazingly difficult job. It's hurting cats on meth, the Republican Party is. And so, let him fight his fight. The other thing is Jim Jordan. Listen, anything at all to save us from this blowhard, lying. He suffers from little guy syndrome. He's a tiny little guy. Am I body shaming him? I don't know if you're allowed to do that. But anyway, yeah, there are several people that are moderate. There are several of them. And I know, all jokes aside, there are people who are serving in Congress right now who really understand that every great thing, every great piece of legislation, every great, not amendment, but every great piece of legislation has always taken bipartisan participation. There's nothing that's ever passed along party lines that has survived. And there's lots and lots of people in Congress The problem with some of the moderates in Congress, which is why an outsider isn't a bad idea. No, you don't have to be a member of the House to be Speaker of the House. That's true. But the people that are serving now, they do want that money. And they are afraid of being primaried. And guys like, David Jolly from Florida, Republican, retired, or, quit. Kasich, Ohio, not part of it anymore. Doesn't need the money, isn't running for anything. It's kind of preferable at this moment. But will you get Republicans to vote for them? 218? No.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes.